counselor. I thought I start with a failure just to make sure I talk about failures. This really was a failure. I couldn't climb that route. And in the Alps, I was so frightened when I was climbing. Yeah, but I hope I talk about some more failures now. As you know, I'm a journalist, and I've always believed that curiosity is an important quality for journalists, and I'm incredibly curious. And sometimes it happens that friends ask me in the middle of a conversation, is this still a conversation or is it an interview? Because I ask so many questions. I cannot wait to learn new things. And in this mood, I graduated in spring 2002 and can hardly wait to become a journalist. I had been studying for quite a long time, 6 years, because in Germany, and I think that's maybe different here, you can make breaks during your studies just to do jobs or internships, or because you have to work because you don't have any more money left. And because I was curious, it was always too many other things to find in Berlin to do, and my homework always had to wait. So I studied 6 years, did a lot of internships, and worked as a freelance journalist parallel to my studies. And I wasn't in a hurry to do my last exam because I was a bit hesitating about my future job. I loved journalism, but at the same time, it to me looked like you have to elbow people out of your way to get a job because it was already back then hard to find a job in journalism. During my studies, I worked in a bakery just to earn money. And in that long night where I was kneading the dough, I sometimes thought, well, I could just work as a baker the rest of my life because it's something peaceful and it's definitely good for society. But there was this curiosity, and it came back and said, well, no, I'm not happy if you're a baker. You don't ask enough questions then, and that was right. So one day, my ambition took hold of me, and I decided to finish my master's and to start my future as a journalist. And I still remember how I stepped out of Humboldt University in Berlin. It's a very nice old building. It was spring 2002. And I felt a nice little wind, and it smelled like spring, and it was like, wow. There was green leaves, and I felt like there's something new to begin, my great future as a journalist. But there was one thing more to be done. Back then, all graduates in Berlin were sent to a career counseling. So I went there, and I told my career consultant on our first meeting, I'm going to be a journalist. But he said, don't do this, forget it. You won't make it, better learn something real. So all of a sudden there was doubt in my mind. You won't make it, he said. I considered other professions, I applied here and there, and I nearly ended up in an advertising agency. But again, the curiosity came back and said, no, wait, don't forget about me. So I wrote applications to all newsrooms you can imagine, and Germany has many of them because you have really many small local newspapers. And it was really hard. I didn't get any answers to my emails. Although I knew many journalists. I had worked in Berlin for many newsrooms, but all the journalists I knew, all my friends said, oh, sorry, Eva, we would like to help you, but we are afraid about our own jobs. We can't help you. We don't have jobs. And in those moments, the voice of this career counselor came back into my head and said, you won't make it. I finally started in Baden-Württemberg at a small regional newspaper that was far away from Berlin, at least if you, from a German perspective, it was far away. I didn't want to move away from Berlin, but it was the only option. So I said, okay, I could do it as a start. And I had a great boss there. He did a lot for me, and already after 2 years, I got a permanent contract, and that was a little revolution. Because already back then it was so hard to get jobs, and there were virtually no permanent contracts in journalism anymore. And all my colleagues said, wow, great, you made it. But I didn't feel like that. After 2 years in local journalism, my curiosity again knocked on my door and said, that's not enough. Everything is repeating and repeating. Let's go. And indeed, in local journalism, things are repeating themselves all the time. The first year I covered the Christmas market, and it's Esslingen. It's a nice Christmas market, and I met people from all over the world, and they told me their stories, and it was so interesting. But the second year, it were the same people, and it were the same stories. And then think of a climate where no one dares to go because there are no jobs in journalism. Everybody just stayed at the newspapers because they couldn't leave. And then things repeat themselves even to a more extreme way. So when I had a new idea, I often heard things like, we never did it like this, or we always have done it like that. And one day, all of a sudden, everything became clear to me. I was sitting in the newsroom, and all my colleagues were there. And some of them had been there for 20 years or more. And I saw my future me sitting there. They had lost their enthusiasm. They had lost their curiosity, and some of them had even become cynical. And a voice in my head said, that's how it will be if you stay. And this was my voice. It was the first time since I talked to this career counselor that my voice was louder than his voice and all the doubts in my head. And this voice said, you have to leave. And I decided, okay, I have to leave. But then there came these other voices again, and they said, you won't make it. And my dearest colleagues said the same things. They said, we have to stay. You have a dream of a contract. You are stupid if you go. Don't do that. You will regret it. But at least I wanted to try. So I started again to apply in other newsrooms and bigger magazines where I could do bigger stories, maybe more different things. And it was hard again. It was even worse. I didn't get a single answer to all my emails. And I saw, okay, the voices, they had been right. I won't make it. I have to stay. There are no other jobs. The only way out would be to start my own business, but only by thinking that these voices yelled at me, don't do that, you won't make it, that's dangerous. And this curiosity, which was so important to me, made itself really very small, and it had no chance against these doubters and these dangerous things around me. So I saw it would be foolish to give up this contract, and I decided to stay. These doubts, this consultant had planted in my head had taken root. And before I knew it, 2 more years had passed. It took me 2 years to realize that I had listened to the wrong voices. I had lost so much time just because of these doubts in my head. One day in fall 2007, I finally put my resignation on our CEO's desk. He was a very strict, feared managing director, and I was sure he would say, you will regret it, you will never do it. And still on the way to his office, I fought with my inner voices. They said, you can still go back, you don't have to do this. But I did it. And the manager said, I can understand you, but I'm happy that we had you. So I set up my own business finally in January 2008. And shortly afterwards, I found out that I am pregnant. And that's a failure, especially in Germany, where employed expectant mothers get almost 4 months off with full pay, and after the birth they can stay 1 year or up to 14 months at home with 2/3 of the salary they had before. This is called Elterngeld, and everybody can get it, me as a freelancer as well. The only difference was that this was calculated on my first year as a freelancer. And as many of you maybe know, the first year of a new company is not the year where you make any money. So let's say this way, it ended up to be a very expensive decision. And of course, my inner doubter said immediately, you should have stayed. I told you, what a stupid decision. But what can I say? I found out that for me, being a freelancer as a young mother is the best way. I can divide my time freely. I don't have to decide between staying at home with the baby or going to work like all my colleagues did. I could just do both. That wasn't easy, it was hard, but I could do both. But to acquire the first commissions as a freelance journalist is really extremely exhausting. I was a no-name, the editors didn't know me, and everyone already back then got too many emails, so I didn't get answers. And this situation was like a fertilizer for the doubts planted in my head. They grew like mad. And then there were these kids. Over the years, I had 3 kids, and they didn't sleep at the nights. And at one of those mornings, where they were awake most of the night, I was sitting in front of my computer in my home office. I was wearing my comfy T-shirt and didn't even brush my teeth, and I was too tired to write. And I scrolled to my emails and somehow hoped that this might count as work as well. And I find a press release from University of Stuttgart. It was about the lack of security of passwords and about many creative ideas from computer scientists how to make this login in the internet more secure. Because I had found out that the human factor made these passwords unsecure because people can't remember long alphanumeric passwords like you know, and everybody uses the same passwords for everywhere. So, but they had great ideas how to change that, how to change this login. And I thought, wow, that's interesting. People don't work the way computer scientists had thought, and they start rethinking. So I discovered that computer science is interesting. I spoke to the scientists, and I wrote an article about that, and it got picked up. And editors asked me to write more articles about that. They liked that, and more and more. And I had found a niche. And from that point, everything became at least easier. I have fun writing articles about computer science today, machine learning, AI, or virtual reality. And I combine these topics with creative writing. And people like to read it, and editors like it. Today, I no longer have to ask editors if they want to publish my articles. They ask me if I could please write them articles. And I even sometimes have to reject some of these jobs because I just have too much work. And I still have hard times to say no because this is an occasion where both of these two voices start yelling at me. One says, "This is interesting, I'm so curious, please do it." And the other says, "You will regret it, you will never get a job like this, you should do it." So it's really hard to say no. Today, career consultants tell me, you did everything right. You found a niche and you have made yourself a brand. And this is ridiculous. If I had heard to these people, I wouldn't be who I am today. I wouldn't even be a journalist. And I never planned to be a brand. What made me a brand just came into my life because I followed my curiosity and because I didn't listen to these consultants. If I had listened to these doubters, I wouldn't be where I am today. And I'm at MIT today, and this is really mind-blowing. And I'm not here because I have made a single sensible decision in my life. I'm not here because I listened to the career counselors, and I'm not here because I've made a plan of how to make myself a brand. I'm here because I have made one mistake after another. I failed. I bet on the wrong horse. I became a journalist at the time when everyone discouraged me. I canceled a fantastic contract. I decided against security. And in the eyes of many, I became pregnant at the wrong time and then even became 2 more children. There were times in my life where I hesitated and questioned myself. I listened to the wrong voices, and that was a failure that cost me precious time. It would be a lie to claim that these doubts are totally gone now. But I have learned to listen to the right voices, and I have learned to remain curious.